Morning, class 11th. So let's welcome this new week and that to the last week of this year 2020. So first of all, have this great time. You just utilize for yourself, for your nears and dear ones. Study hard in this time period so that you can welcome the new year with a big smile on your faces, right? So today we are going to end this chapter birth, which we are doing it from the book Snapshots. We have started the reading for this. So if you remember what we last discussed about it, that Dr. Andrew Manson, who was at Mr. Morgan's family, he attempted, because as lifeless child was born, he gave the life to Susan Morgan, as well as he started making the attempts to revive the lifeless child. So he made the first attempt like a juggler. What he did from one basin to the other, like from the hot to the cold water, like a juggler, he juggled the child, but unfortunately, result was in vain. It was futile. So now we are going to learn. He made the second attempt. He used his intelligence again. But how he did and what were the results of that we are going to learn in. So we are on page number 68 at the end here. Andrew did not heed her. Yeah. Beaten, despairing, having labored effort in vain for half an hour, he still persisted in one last effort. So last effort he did. Rubbing the child, what he did? Rubbing the child with a rough towel, crushing and releasing the little chest with both hands, trying to get breath into the limp body. The limp here means the lifeless, the yellowish body, the white body actually. So what he did, he had that rough towel and he rubbed the child chest. He rubbed the child with a rough towel and with both his hands, he pressed the chest of that lifeless child, crushed and released. So what he did it, and what happened then? And then a miracle happened. And what was the miracle? The pygmy chest. So it's about the description, which the description was given that how that lifeless child was looking like. It's about that. The pygmy chest, which is hands enclosed, gave a short convulsive heave. So a miracle happened after that effort. There was a short convulsive effort, that heave came, that breathing sound was there, that lifeless child made a little breathing sound, and then another, and then another, and turned glidly. The sense of life springing beneath his fingers after all that unavailing striving was so exhaustive it's almost made him faint. He redoubled his efforts when he noticed that now the child was little responding. So doctor redoubled his efforts. He made his efforts more stronger. The child was gasping now, and slowly and steadily the child started breathing. Now deeper and deeper. So there's like the goosebumps when you read about this, that how the child started breathing. It's a matter of pride actually for that doctor. A bubble of mucus came from one tiny nostril. So mucus, a little that nostril from one side of the nostril, that mucus, that thing came out. A joyful thing came on his face. The limbs were no longer boneless. So now there was a bone, there was a life in that basically. The head no longer lay back spinelessly. So even the head was rolling, it was not on one side. The blank skin was slowly turning pink. Then inquisitively came the child's cry, and that white skin changed into the pink color, and the child finally cried. Damn. Dear Father in the heaven, the nurse sobbed hysterically. It's come alive. So that nurse, that midwife, she basically said that finally it's alive. She said thanks to the God. Andrew handed her the child. So when the child responded, when there was a lie, finally the child cried. Now you can relate this thing with the movie Three Idiots, right? Where at the end, how Amir Khan, he made, although he was the engineer, but when he listened to the guidance of the doctor, right? And how he made the efforts, and then the lifeless child was born. But it was also the child was lifeless, but how he gave the life to it, although said all is well, but still he used his intelligence. So doctor also made the attempt. So, yeah, he handed over the child to the nurse. He felt weak and dazed. About him, the room lay a shuddering litter. Blankets, towel, basin, soiled instrument, the hypodermic syringe, and everything, lilinium, the Everknig not kettle on one side. So basically, the whole room was in the messy condition. Everything which was required for that medical aid, everything was there in a messy condition. Towels, basins, certain newspapers, hypodermic syringe, everything was there. And upon the huddled bed, the mother still dreamed her way quietly through the anesthetic. So Mrs. N. Morgan was also there. The old woman, that is Mrs. Morgan's mother, still stood against the wall, but her hands were together, her lips moved towards, without sound, she was praying. And that lady, oh, Mrs. Morgan's mother, she was leaned towards the wall. She was praying, basically, she was thanking to the God, and she was praying for that. Mechanically, Andrew wrung out his sleeve, pulled on his jacket. So, Andrew, at last, he folded up his sleeves, and finally he went from there. I will fetch my bag later, nurse. So he said to the nurse, I will take my bag later on, and he left from that place. He went downstairs, through the kitchen into the scullery. His lips were dry. So he had a glass of water. He took his hat and coat, and outside, when he came outside, he noticed Joe was there. And all right, Joe, he said thickly, both all right. So finally, he gave the news to Joe Morgan. Don't worry, both are all right. It was quite light, nearly 5 o'clock. Quite light means now it was the early morning time. A few miners, as they live nearby the mines only. Actually, he was going home after the work, and people were coming to the work. It was early morning. Already in the street, the first of the night's shift moving out. As Andrew walked with them, spent and slow, his footfalls echoing with the others. So his footfall, there was a sound of the footfalls with those miners. He kept thinking blindly, oblivious to all other work he had done in blindly. So finally he said something to himself. I have done something. Oh God, I have done something real at last. So finally he said this statement to himself. Why he said finally I did something? Because he gave life to two people, although to the Morgan family, but gave life to two one. First, although lifeless child was born, but first he gave the life to the life lady only, that is Susan Morgan, whose condition was declining. And secondly, he through his efforts, he gave a life to that lifeless child, and with that, he gave the happiness, the joy in the family of Morgan family. So finally, he said this to himself. So I guess now it's clear to everyone, and you really enjoyed this chapter. I really hope so. So if any doubt, please ask. So in this episode, you need to remember that how Andrew made the last attempt, how he rubbed the child with a rough towel, crushed and released the little chest with both hands, and then miracle happened, child cried, and finally he said the statement. So you need to know that how that condition of the child was, how mucus, his strong short heaves were there. So you need to remember everything. So any doubt, please clear it out, and send the worksheet timely. God bless you all. Thank you.